You have been selected to receive the Resident Presidential Scholarship from Utah State University. The value of this scholarship is approximately $32,000. This scholarship is available for 4 years or 8 semesters.
So this is a pretty eerie video that is surfacing right now on social media of the 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, who has been arrested for killing Charlie Kirk. You know, what's interesting about this video is when I was playing this, and I'm sure everybody does this now, right? You're looking at this video and watching him talk, and the first thing that comes to, maybe it was just me, first thing that comes to my mind is this AI? Is this real? I'm watching his lips. You know, I'm looking for anything that may maybe point to this video not being real. I thought the same thing when I saw the video of Charlie Kirk. The gruesome video is what I'm talking about, which is actually being scrubbed right now off TikTok. In this video, we're going to look at some people who are reacting to his arrest, how he was turned in. There's an interesting story there. And also, I also want to touch on what I've seen from other people who seem like they are afraid. I'm talking about public figures on either sides, right? People who are thinking about security, what this means for people who are in the spotlight. You know, there are a lot of people who don't have the money for the type of security to protect themselves, and they address very controversial issues. And that right there is exactly what motivated me to take an interest in covering this entire situation. Yes, I understand that we live in a two-party system and there are different sides and they have different opinions. Regardless of what your stance is when it comes to particular policies, a young person who is on the left shouldn't be sitting there worried about looking for security, old or young, right? Worried about, am I going to get shot for voicing out what I believe? A person on the right should not be worried about that. Somebody who's in the middle, people who may not even be political. I think this is a very, very dangerous direction we're going. And that is exactly why I've been so disturbed at the people who are celebrating this and actually calling for more of this to continue. This will affect everybody. If things keep going the way that they're going and people don't understand that this can't be celebrated and encouraged, then I'm afraid that people don't understand how it will affect their own personal lives as we go forward. All right, so I'm sure everybody's already seen the announcement. Breaking: Charlie Kirk's assassin has been identified as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, who was turned in by his father. This is very, 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 very unexpected. And I think people have questions like this man here with the caption, "They caught the shooter of Charlie Kirk, please share." He had some thoughts and opinions, even questioned the father who turned in his son. And I haven't seen this whole video, but we're going to check this out.
I don't care if my son shot Jesus Christ himself and I was a devout Christian, I would not be turning him in. That's all I have to say about that. So, you know, Tyler Robinson was just arrested this morning in southern Utah, about 250 miles away from where Charlie Kirk was unalived.
Right.
He is now the lead suspect, and the governor of Utah came out this morning saying, we got him. There was engravings on the bullets, just so you guys are aware. There was engravings. One said, "Hey, fascist." One said, "Catch." One said, "If you read this, you're gay." LMAO. Another one had up, down, right, or up, right, down, down, down. I guess that's. I remember back in the day there was cheat codes in GTA. Maybe that's what that was. I don't know. Either way, I want to be very, very clear here that I would not. His dad turned him in. Just so we're clear here.
I think it's really interesting that I just realized right now, I didn't know this before, but just listening to this, I don't know if he did that on purpose, but he didn't include a part of that engraving message, which is like one of the hot topics right now. We're definitely going to check that out. I don't know why he skipped over that. I don't know.
His dad turned him in. His dad called the authorities and said, "My son did this." And I'm confused. I have children, right? And not that I think my children would ever do anything like this, but as a dad, I don't know how this guy's going to live with himself. I don't. Utah does have the death penalty, and we'll see if they invoke it. So what's going to happen today is Tyler Robinson is going to end up in jail, right? Temporarily. He will likely go through a court hearing today. In that court hearing, they will maybe ask for a plea, maybe not. It's just preliminary stuff. Then there's going to be a lot of motions that need to be filed before there's actually a trial here. So we're quite a ways away from a trial, where all the evidence is going to come out. But the evidence they've come out with so far said that they proved that Tyler drove the same car that pulled up on UVA's campus or UVU's campus last night or yesterday morning. They proved that he's wearing the same clothes and that he wore on camera when he pulled up. Then he changed clothes. They also have Discord messages between him and his roommate at his current college in southern Utah. And in those messages, he talks about the rifle, where he left the rifle, what kind of rifle it was, that it was wrapped in a towel, details that only the shooter would know.
Right.
So it does look like Tyler is our shooter.
Let's talk about the sponsor of this channel, fathershaverights.com. Engaged and soon-to-be married men, a single prenup slip-up can cost you tens of thousands later. Waiting until the last minute or signing under pressure are the mistakes that sink most agreements. My step-by-step guide at fathershaverights.com, built with expert attorneys James Sexton and the lead attorney, shows you exactly how to avoid every costly prenup mistake, all for the price of a couple of dinner dates. Tap the link pinned to the top of the comment section to safeguard your future and join the hundreds of soon-to-be husbands protecting their marriages the right way.
Guys, I gotta say, I know we're all conflicted about the whole thing. And if you come in my comments and say you're not conflicted, that's fine. You don't have to be. I completely understand why you wouldn't be conflicted, why you are the reap what you sow thing that's going on here. I completely, the wrinkles in my shirt are killing me. I completely get it. I do.
Nice shirt though. Nice shirt.
You do reap what you sow. Charlie Kirk sowed hate and violence and demonized marginalized communities. And I've heard this new term going around, and some kind of terrorism. It starts with an S. I can't remember the name of it. It's way above me. But basically, you can create plausible deniability if you say, oh, all of this minority is bad, and then statistically somebody's going to go out there and act on it, and you can have pliable deniability. You can deny it and say that you had nothing to do with it because you didn't tell them to go do anything, but you encouraged it, right? And
Right.
Charlie Kirk is that. Charlie Kirk hurt a lot of people. I mean, Charlie Kirk is the reason that a lot of people were hurt, were killed, were demonized, were tortured. I mean, there's reasons that the marginalized communities in this country don't feel safe today.
Okay. I want to start with what he said right there. He said, if my son shot Jesus Christ himself, I wouldn't turn him in. Here's one thing I started doing at one point in my life when I would hear people say things that disagreed with where I stand, is I wonder, why would that person think that that's the right thing to do? Why would you think that if your son committed a murder, then you wouldn't turn him in? Or you can do that the other way around. Why do you think his father decided it was the right thing to do to turn him in? I'll tell you why I would definitely turn my son in if he did this. Because I believe it's the right thing to do. Why do I believe that? Because my overall allegiance is not just to my family. I have principles and a standard that I live by that transcend that. To a lot of people, their family's it, right? They would help their family hide a dead body. To them, the right thing to do would be to protect their family at all costs, maybe even implicating themselves and being guilty. There are people who are race loyal. Their allegiance overall is to their race. I'm sure you don't have to look too far to see people who move in that way. If the people who they're dealing with don't look like them, they don't care. Their only allegiance is to themselves. So why would I turn my son in if he murdered somebody? Well, because based on my faith and my leaning and trusting in Jesus's teachings, that's the right thing to do. That's the right thing to do. And to somebody who doesn't understand this concept, or who does not have a respect or a fear of God, Jesus, you heard him say it himself. Chisha, how do you know? He said, my son shot Jesus Christ himself. I would not turn my son in. Right there, he's told you. And so if you're curious, yes, the Bible as a follower of Christ does call me to do the right thing, even though it may offend my brother, my sister. This includes my children, or even if it was my wife. So that's that. Secondly, I'd also encourage you to pay attention to where people place emphasis when it comes to this conversation. Again, I'm telling you guys, there are people right now who are afraid, right? A lot of people who I think may have built a platform don't truly believe what they actually talk about, or never thought they'll be in a time and place where their life may be on the line, because people are pushing this idea that words equal violence. And so if your emphasis is put on, hey, if you go around saying something that other people may view as hateful or wrong, then you should be ready for this type of retaliation. So what I'm hearing here, right, based on his definition here of hate, he says you are prone to reactions like this. So be careful what you choose to stand for and say out loud, and people be afraid to speak up. Now, there are people who are willing to die for what they believe. Most people are just not, especially online today. And this idea that words mean violence and people can react in this way is just, again, a very dangerous direction for people to go towards. Anyone should be allowed to express themselves, even if I disagree with them, without fear of losing their life.
And so I completely understand why you wouldn't have remorse for someone like Charlie Kirk no longer being with us. I completely understand it, and I completely get it. I wouldn't turn my son in. Even if I loved Charlie Kirk, which for the record, I absolutely don't. I think he's an abhorrent human. I would never turn my son in. Again, if I was a devout Christian and he shot Jesus Christ, I wouldn't turn my son in.
But you hear? He says, if I was a devout Christian, I wouldn't turn my son in. If you were truly a devout Christian, then you would know that the Bible calls for prioritizing love for God above all else, right? Including family, including friends. You need to do the right thing. And what does love for God mean? God says, if you love me, keep my commandments. And that comes down to your actions. And I don't know what to call this. I'm sure he actually may believe what he's saying. I don't know, guys, comment down below. Would you call this a lack of, I don't think he's being dishonest. That's like saying if I was a devout Nazi, then I wouldn't have done what they did, but you would have. And then there's the whole point of like people just being too self-confident. I would hope that I would do the right thing and turn my son in. That's really my hope. But then I have a human side to me where that will be difficult. You have Peter in the Bible who denied Jesus 3 times, and he started bragging about what he wouldn't do and what he would do if such and such happened. But at the end of the day, we can only hope that we live up to our principles and values in this life.
So I don't know how this guy is going to live with himself. I don't know. He's probably a MAGA zealot. That's the only thing I can think of. He's a MAGA zealot. I mean, my dad is. I would hope that my dad wouldn't turn me in, but my dad is MAGA. My mom is semi-MAGA. And obviously, I'm running for Congress on the opposite side of the aisle because I believe that everything MAGA is doing is fascism and destroying our country, and the very fabric of our democracy is being torn apart by these people. I would hope my parents would never turn me in. We may be coming to that part in the Holocaust in the very beginning, right, where neighbors were turning in neighbors for helping out Jewish people. And now we have family members turning on family members.
All right. So next came this post that read, Charlie Kirk shooters bullet casing had the following messages engraved. And he didn't read a few of those messages there. And I'll ask you guys to see if you can remember what he left out.
Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices, bulges, capital OWO, what's this, question mark." Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist, exclamation point, catch, exclamation point." Up arrow symbol, right arrow, and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow." And a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices, bulges, capital OWO, what's this, question mark." Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist, exclamation point, catch, exclamation point." Up arrow symbol, right arrow, and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow, Chow." And a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO."
Okay. So that "Oh Bella Chow," if you haven't figured it out, is what was missing. And I'm curious to know what all that means. And so, as usual, to get some help here, we're going to talk to our AI assistant barista, Miss Coffee. Miss Coffee, can you please explain to me the inscriptions and the engravings, what they mean, your best take here on the situation?
Hey, love. Here's my best take on those weird inscriptions and engravings found on the casings in the Charlie Kirk shooting.
Okay.
This is based on what investigators have shared so far. We'll walk through what's known, what it suggests, and what still doesn't add up, so you've got everything sharp. What we know about the inscriptions, these are confirmed in multiple sources. One fired casing was engraved, notices, bulges, ow, oh, what's this? Plus 2 unfired casings had inscriptions like, "Hey, fascist, catch," plus arrow symbols, "Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow, Chow." Lyrics from Anti-Fascist. Song BellaChowPeople.com 2, plus Financial Times. If you read this, you are gay, LMAOPeople.com. Investigators say these inscriptions point to anti-fascist messages, gamers meme, references, political statements, and possibly attempts at taunting or symbolism. Financial Times 2people.com. What these suggest, putting them together. Here's what the patterns seem to suggest, my opinion. Political intent. Ideology, the hey fascist, catch. Plus, Bella Chow inscriptions strongly lean left. Anti-fascist orientation. Bella Chow is well known from World War II as a resistance anthem. Financial Times 2people.com.
Okay, so Ms. Coffee there says, our AI assistant barista, Ms. Coffee says, the hey fascist catch Bella Chow inscription strongly lean left. Now, I didn't hear him mention that in the guy's video earlier. I was wondering why he left that out. Bella Chow is well known from World War II as a resistance anthem. It's not just random. All right, let's keep listening.
Internet culture influence notices, bulges, owo, what's this? Is meme? Internet speak, furries or other subcultures use owo, etc. It tells us the person is tuned into online culture, maybe seeking shock, symbolism, or viral effect. CBS News .1 arrows on casings, hearts and casings. Might reference game input patterns, for example, cheat codes, combos, or gaming culture. Financial Times taunting. Message to target or audience: if you read this, you are gay. LMAO appears meant as a taunt or provocation. Could be commentary on masculinity, identity, insult, or trying to create confusion. Here's what I think this all points to. This was not just a random act of violence. The inscriptions showed deliberate symbolism, ideology, and a desire to leave behind messages that would be seen, read, interpreted. He wanted people to know why, or at least what he thought he was doing. There's a blend of serious politics, anti-fascism, plus internet culture, memes, ow, arrow patterns. That means the shooter's worldview is likely influenced heavily by online spaces. Perhaps radicalization or ideological content mixed with meme culture. The taunting or insult engravings, for example. If you read this, you are gay, LMAO. Suggest a mindset of confrontation, either toward the victim or the public. This isn't just I'm mad, but I want to provoke a reaction, stir up discourse. The presence of Bella Chow is especially telling. He's aligning himself or his message with anti-fascist resistance historically. That stakes the act in a political, ideological framework, not just personal.
Obviously, the engravings were more than just a bullet, right? This is a message. It was meant to be a message, a mix of his own ideologies, anger, internet culture. Do I think that every left-leaning person supports this? No. Have we seen a lot of left-leaning people cheer and celebrate Charlie Kirk's death? Yes. Have we seen people call for more violence like this? Most definitely. And when you think of the words Bella Chow being strongly left-leaning, it's almost dishonest when you see people now try to say that, oh, he's the fall guy and this isn't real, so on and so forth, when the whole thing has been real. My hope, once again, is that people realize that words do not mean violence, and people should be allowed to express themselves without fearing death, without death becoming such a casual expectation.
Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact name Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel.
Guys, we're going to read a few comments here. This commenter here says he thought he was going to be perceived as another Luigi. LOL. Yeah, no, I mean, there's some people who believe that, right? Somebody else who says there's no way I would have been able to read that last one without laughing because what? Somebody else who says, how the hell did he get all that on a 308 shell? Somebody else who says, did this fella have any army background? From what I've seen, and I've seen a lot of people like analyze the whole shot and everything. I mean, I've shot shotguns myself. They're saying that he didn't hit his target, right? He missed, but he did end up hitting the target overall. It was supposed to be a headshot. This next commentator says, I feel as if this don't need to be reported. And somebody responded back and says, why is that? So the left can continue to claim this kid was conservative. Here's somebody else who says, what do the words on the cases have to do with political ideology? Really? Really? Interesting. That's interesting. There's also this interesting video that is captions the words Tyler Robinson wrote on his bullet casing on a bullet intended for Charlie Kirk. This song was used at the No Kings protest against Donald Trump in June 2025. Hey guys, as always, I appreciate you for checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Pod. To my currently engaged or soon to be married men, if you need a prenup and would like a guide that shows you how to get a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement, hit the link into the top of the comment section and access your guide at fathershaverights.com today.